Hello, hello, welcome in. We're here for some Collegiate League of Legends. I'm Magical, joined in by Alec Battery, and we have an exciting series today. We've got Maryville University up against the University of California, Irvine. My alumni. I even got my sweater on to represent. Had to represent, you know.
Of course.
It's always exciting to see the team and the school you went to actually here in the top 16 performing. Unfortunately, they have to play up against Maryville. So as much as I want to be excited for them playing, I also have to be realistic and say that they did burn me by building an awesome gaming center at the school the year after I graduated. So, you know, it's fair.
I'm glad that your ability to stay impartial is only due to the fact that they built an esports lab and not whether or not they could actually win today's series. I'm glad we're keeping it at that level.
It's also that when they built it, too. That's even more important.
Yep,
it was
that's
after
true.
I graduated, so I didn't even get to enjoy it.
Well, I'm hopeful that the UCI people can enjoy it. We can take a look at our bracket here for the entire CLOL bracket. If you were watching earlier, we did get to see the results of the Northwest versus University of Western Ontario. Northwood obviously taking that one. And we're on the top left here. So Maryville, UCI, winner of this going up against Fisher and Colorado Boulder. I think both of these teams did get a little bit of a layup coming into 32. The Harrisburg one, I think, was more surprising just because a lot of people were a little bit higher on Harrisburg coming into the tournament.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, Harrisburg actually would say it was a little bit of a surprise, but not all too much because we have seen, like, how the rosters have been for some of these teams. You know, the movements that you often have with a lot of collegiate teams. Everyone outside of Maryville. But Maryville, I got to cast those games, and that second game, they really did play with their food. They were so far ahead and really showed why they are our favorites coming into this, why everyone has pegged this as the team to watch for collegiate, and why they are usually just that program every year. They're always the team everyone's like, watch this team, watch this team. But I feel like this year might be a little bit different.
They're also a team that, you know, when we're talking about legacy-wise, they have always been the ones that have been able to compete with the Tier 2 scene, with being able to compete with academy teams at certain points during Proving Grounds in years past. So not surprising to see that. We obviously did see them in Challengers League this past split, getting second overall, and really impressive for the program as a whole. They've really made great strides years and years back-to-back now. So we can actually take a look at our schedule for today. As you can see, we did just have our Northwest series, or Northwood series, sorry, Quawks. And now we're going to be having our Maryville one. If you want to check out the Running the Rift one, that is going to be starting in about 2 hours. It is going to be going over there. Our series is probably going to be running over that time as well, so make sure you got your multi-twitches ready.
Yeah, Fisher versus CU Boulder will be a pretty exciting one. So I'm actually a little jealous. I think that one will actually be fairly close. I am pulling for Fisher a little bit more, but I actually think that CU Boulder have been a team that we've seen even like last year pulled off some awesome upsets that people are like, wait, why is this team winning? So I think that's a team you just cannot ever doubt on pulling out something crazy, but we got to focus our attention on Maryville versus UCI because you have a lot of legacy, as you were talking about, with Maryville, but also with UCI. This is a collegiate program that has won CLOL in the past. Sure, it has been about 6 years since they last won it, but this is a program that has had success. They understand. They have former players that were in the academy scene, Gorka, Mike Young, even being in the LCS. So they have a pretty good talent pool on their side, but as we were saying, it's Maryville. This is a team, their legacy has always been about winning, not just in the past, but in the present and the future. And I feel like with this roster that they have built for themselves, like if we get to take a look at the roster, it is, when I saw this, I was just like, oh, they're just going to win not only Academy, but they're also going to win Collegiate League of Legends. They almost did that for the NACL. Yeah. And now they're here in CLOL, and I don't think that any team really can stand up against this team because you have Niles, you have Yuji, you have Spyrex. I mean, just that mid-jungle duo right there was already one of the scariest part about FlyQuest Challengers last year.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I do want to say thank you to all of our sponsors over on GoFundMe for everybody who are there. We can still donate. This will be running till the end of the month. So if you want to see the improvement and more of this broadcast, it'd be awesome if you can go ahead and send a few. Any amount really helps. And either way, if you can't donate, please share. It does a lot. And obviously, a lot of the players have already come out and spoken about about how highly they're kind of looking forward to this kind of broadcast. Also, thank you to our sponsors, Ole Miss as well as Gen G, for all of our, helping out with the broadcast and helping out with tools and stuff. So really excited to have them on. Honestly, it was really cool to see. I wish we got some more collegiate sponsors. I know that Ole Miss, they're more just like, they just want to help. They're not really a big title sponsor, but getting Gen G, especially knowing their ties with collegiate, has been really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and as you can see up there, we have a lot of the names for everyone who has donated for the GoFundMe going across the screen. And we'll do some more reads on that later as well when we get further. And as Alk was saying, this will be open up throughout the stream as well as throughout the coming weeks. But we got our matchup that we are on to today. Maryville, UCI, Zot. You're not going to understand what that means, but all the UCI people out there, they'll know what I mean. Zot, everybody. I'm on your side. I'm pulling for you, but this is tough. It is truly a David versus Goliath situation. Honestly, any team that goes up against Maryville is a David versus Goliath situation. You're going up against the beast, the best of collegiate. Honestly, I would even argue this might be their best roster they've ever had in the history of Maryville.
For sure. I think that this is potentially one of the strongest lineups in general that we have seen in collegiate. If you look pound for pound, there are some other teams I think that are currently in the tournament that might have best in slot player, like if we're looking at roles. But I think individually speaking, these are one of the strongest. We have UG, we have Spyrax, again, two mid-jungle duos that we were talking about. These two by themselves individually have been top tier for, I would say, probably the last year, not only inside of collegiate, but outside when we're talking about tier 2. And then Scary and Jerry and Zyko, their individual improvement in the last 8 months has been really, really good. Obviously leading to Scary Jerry eventually winning most improved player. And Niles, someone who got to talk to him before the match today, I was asking him, what is the difference between that 2019 Niles who won the championship and now? And he's like, I'm less focused on winning my lane and more so looking forward to how do I enable the rest of my team? How am I going to be a playmaker to set up the other carries like a Spyrax, UG, and Scary Jerry?
And we were kind of hitting on it as well before with talking about UCI, having players that have been in either the academy scene back when it was academy, challenger scene, LCS. Here we have Elated in the top lane, one of those newer players. But Mike Young, Gorka, these are names that I am very well versed in. Cinnamon Bread, as I still know him as someone I've watched for many years. Cerulean, I really got to watch come up in the open qualifiers and do a great job. So I think this team is good. It just sucks that they have to go against Maryville now.
Yeah, I do want to set expectations and be a little bit fair to this team. I think that making top 8 in any side of this bracket would actually be a really strong performance for them, considering prior years not really being to kind of punch above their weight class. And they're also coming in with a new support. It was Light Pulse for the entirety of the regular season, but now coming in with Cerulean, this is going to be at least a slight difference in what the bot lane pair is going to look like. And again, they did come from the West. There's a lot of West memes coming out, and they were also voted in by committee. They finished third in their own conference. I think that individually, when we look at their regular season, yes, they were undefeated, but their group was not as strong as some of the other ones when we got to see like USC or even Weber and what they were doing over there. So for UC Irvine, I think that they should take this match and really kind of use it as a springboard going forward and say, how can we look to kind of level up our gameplay? What are we looking to try to do? Because our focus needs to be on bottom lane. Gorka and Cerulean have been carries the entire season. We need to see more of that.
I agree. I completely agree. And talking about the head-to-head, going towards Gorka and Scary Jerry, I think if the UCI is going to pick up some wins here, it will be through Gorka. This player, I love watching his Draven. We were talking about it before the broadcast, me and Alk, and I love seeing it. Alk maybe not so much because it might have a tendency to run it a couple times, but man, when he pops off, it is so cool.
Yes, Gorka Draven. It's just the Draven problem. It's not really his fault. When you're playing Draven, you just get into that mindset. I need to run at the enemy AD carry and kill them. It's just over and over what we're going to do. And I think some of these stats that we have pulled up here are going to reflect a little bit of that. When we look at Scary Jerry, that stat, that DPM one is the one that really stands out, has over double Gorka's. I will say, you might say, hey, Dimitri, the stats may be a little inflated because this is only looking at CLOL matches from round of 32. But if we look at NACL and we look during the entire regular season, Scary Jerry did have something very similar to this when we look at his stats. So I think generically speaking, this is what we're going to see. I think big thing for Gorka is the damage percentage that he has for his team. And then we look at that bot lane, that bottom line stat there, gold difference at 10. Very big when these two are trying to win lane early.
And I think you had a good call out on that one. Obviously, just looking at one best of 3, not really going to give you the best information. It's how you look at the past, and especially for Scary Jerry. I was already excited about him, how he played last year, the big upset, Converse had before. And I think that this guy just has gotten better. He's just gotten better since the 2022 season. 2023 was kind of like okay, but this year, 2024, has really been his big pop-off and how he's really performed for themselves. And you can see the difference between the rosters, right? From the CLOL championship roster of Maryville, Niles, the consistent factor. The one player that has remained on the team. Actually, we even have Clyde playing still. And I think, he's still playing, but just on a different collegiate team. But look at the new roster they have. And the thing is, that was a good roster, right? It's a good roster that won the championships. This is a nightmare for any team to have to face off against. Niles, UT, Spyrix, Scary Jerry, Zyko. Ugh.
Yeah. We wanted to do a little bit of a comparison going back to when both of these teams won. For Maryville, it was 2019. For UCI, it was 2018. And obviously, like we were saying, Niles being the one consistent member. Obviously, they had some different top laners between then and now. But coming back into the roster, bringing some of that veteranship that we've seen from him, playing in collegiate, playing in Tier 2 for such a long time. So it's really cool to see, especially with a lot of the new faces. We obviously had Spyrix playing top at a certain point. We had Scary Jerry and Zyko. I think the big thing that I want to focus on here is for Scary Jerry and most of this Maryville lineup, their commitment to the program, their ability to just say, like, I really want to give back to this program. Scary Jerry talked about it in a lot of interviews, being like, there is a potential that I may have not been starting, and obviously Maryville in the past had been running all of these 10-man rosters. So I think it's really cool and would be a great story for them starting, throughout round of 16 and 32 to be able to move on forward. And we can take a look at that UCI roster. It is very different.
Very, very different. Everyone is different on that team from now and in the past. But it's still an interesting factor with UCI is having players that had played in professional, Young Bin, Bloodwater, Latman, and then playing over for UCI. You have that with Mike Young, having played in the LCS before, very young rookie back when he was in the LCS. Gorka, another player that I've always been really excited to watch. I think he's just a really fun player, but as you kind of rightfully called out, Dimitri, he loves to get into the actual mind of the champion he's playing. Yeah. If he has to play for spacing like a Jinx, he's great at it. But if he's on Draven, he's running at you. He's flashing forward. He's getting those kills. It's either going to be him dying or you dying.
Yep, honestly, I'm okay with that. I think that's a totally cool mindset. If you're just a laner in general, jungler is probably going to be more focused as to what their camps look like and not necessarily looking at their lanes. Sorry for our solo queue junglers out there, but yeah, when we look at this UCI roster, obviously some fresh faces alongside our more veteran ones. And talking to Elated, I mean, he is one of the newest members just in general to competitive. Yeah. He's only really been playing for a couple of years now. And definitely as a newer top laner, I think it's really important to have such long-standing voices, especially for Mike Young, who has been part of the program for such a long time.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of like the thing you said about what Elated said, because you had a little interview with them. Yeah. And he did call out that he's not just a Rumble one trick, and I will be interested to see how this is going to be up against Niles, because Niles, and you talking with Niles beforehand too, has said that he has really tried branching out, especially like you look at the NACL. He wasn't just playing the carry top laners. He was willing to sacrifice a little bit more for the team, learning how to play Cassante, being more of a tank, being more of a frontliner if the team needed it. And so that's something I think will be interesting to see if Elated can kind of match that energy from Niles.
Gora, it was funny, I was talking to some of the other things I was talking about with Elated. I did ask all of the players that I did try to send a couple messages to if they had any smack talk. And I had, Niles is tough meat, but I'm a butcher today. And then we had that bracket. That's going to backfire. Smile. Okay. So we can take a look at that.
I hear we have the predictions ready. And so, look, I'll just be honest with everybody. I can't vote against UCI. It's my alumni. I have to root for them. I'm sorry, Maryville. I know that you guys are the favorites, but Zot, we got UCI shirt on for a reason. Let's bring the magic.
I didn't even get a full other 2 games. I just got a 1-0. What happened here? I got scammed. I got UCI. Maryville actually got scammed with 2 games here. That's my bad. Yeah,
just saying a 1-0, just boom, done like that. Yeah, so I knew you meant a 3-0 though.
Yeah,
so we got
of course.
Pretty much Maryville being the team that everyone's pulling for. Caddy actually giving UCI a game, and I think that depending on how the drafts go, actually could be something that would be interesting to see from UCI. I think that they have a lot of power through Gorka in the bot lane, and Cerulean, I was talking about how this player really impressed me when it came to OQs. It was a lot on these aggressive supports, especially his Thresh was something that was great to set up his ADC. And so I think with Cerulean playing on that style, they're going to make it so that Gorka really can pop off, because that is a player, if he gets ahead early, they're very rarely going to let go of that pressure.
This is, again, a bot lane meta right now, and I wouldn't be surprised with a series where Gorka gets Jinx, or we talk a little bit more of that, the Draven, and things just go haywire, right?
Yep.
Like, bot lane just happens to happen. This does happen sometimes with Scary Jerry and Zyko. I think it's less likely to happen. You know, if we were to flip a coin 100 times, I think probably less likely than 40. But, you know, I really do think, again, when we talk about the strengths of these two programs, we obviously had that legacy, but they're on two different trajectories right now, where Maryville are looking to potentially win this entire championship. UCI, I think a top 8 finish would be more in line with some of their goals, especially when we look at last year, they didn't make it. They made it into top 32, and that's it. They lost to Ottawa, and then the year before they made it into top 8, and it was up against Bay State that unfortunately they were taken down, but it's, I think, a lot different.
If our producer can bring back up the bracket, I have a very important point to make about Maryville.
Let's do this.
Maryville and the bracket. So I want you to look at this bracket, right? And where do you see St. Thomas?
I see St. Thomas on the other side of the bracket.
Maryville are very happy about that.
Well, they're going to probably meet them in upper finals.
They're happy about facing them then. That's what I'm saying. They're happy about that, because that is the team that knocked them out both last year and the year before. So the fact that they are getting a chance to hold off on that, kind of get these warm-up reps up against teams getting towards the top 8, towards the top 4, that's going to make them very happy, especially because it is double elimination if he gets to the top 8. So that does give them a second chance. So maybe they lose to UST if they face off against them in that upper semifinals. Then they learn, they download, they come back in the finals and smash.
Well, UST also don't have Shogo, so we'll see. They do have Array. Array is a great AD carry. But I think, you know, if we're comparing Array versus Shogo, people might have differences there. Obviously, a very different team. But yeah, this is, I think, a really exciting one. I think it'd be really fun. Again, winner of this does go up against Fisher versus Colorado Boulder, which will be a match that is happening later today. Yep. I think it was 7 p.m., if I'm correct, for EST. So we'll take a look.
4 p.m. for Pacific. Yep.
There you go. So that'll be happening over on Running the Rift. Make sure that you're tuned in over there.
All right, so I hear that we do have our draft ready for us to get into. I'm excited about this series. Maryville versus my alum UCI. I'm repping them with the sweater. I got to, you know, I got to root for them. I got to give them some, because Maryville, I know how good they are. I have seen it in NACL. I got to see it all split this year. They just were such a strong team. UG and Spyrox were insanely powerful last year on FlyQuest Challengers. In fact, I was the only person really pulling for UG pretty much split after split to be the MVP, and finally he was able to get this
as you
year.
should.
As I should, because this guy is a monster. And now we get into the draft. We see Vi and Skarner going to hit the rift, and it's funny. So let me get a vibe check from you, Dimitri.
Okay.
Skarner, is he a top laner or jungler? You don't get to say both. You don't get to say both. You have to choose one.
He's a top laner.
Okay, thank you. We got the vibes going on.
This champion is just not okay. They need to keep hitting him with the Nerf bat. I think that there's a...
They're buffing him, by the way, in the next...
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad they are, because I definitely didn't have to see... Not even talking about top lane. I saw a couple of support games of this champion.
Yes,
I hate it. I hate this champion.
I made a whole video on YouTube.
I know, I
saying
saw.
That all the roles you can play him in, and he is good in 4 of the 5 of them. It is insane. He's fine in mid lane. It's just wild, but we got to talk about what's actually happening with these drafts. We got Vi, Senna, Draven, levied towards Gorka on the other side, while Ashe has been taken out of the pool for Zyko. Zyko has been really good on that champion, but it leaves open Varus, and that's what I was expecting to get immediately grabbed here for Scary Jerry.
Yeah, when we see that the Ashe is banned, that's usually going to be a little bit of a telltale sign as to, hey, we're probably going to be okay with giving over one of these. My thought is maybe we see another Renata coming out from one of these two. I think when you have these double paired bot lanes, but really important. We look at junglers that are available. I mean, Xin Zhao was already something that could potentially be played by both of these junglers. Vi and Poppy being taken away, I thought was very interesting, especially because Mike Young does tend to opt for the Lee Sin matchup a lot more often.
Yeah, and this is the Mike Young special back on Phoenix 1 back in the day. This was the champion that he had kind of made his name known for when he was that rookie player in the LCS. So busting that here against Maryville, I'm actually really excited to see that. He's still willing to play that up against someone like Yuji, who has been quite the terror in collegiate and challengers. And then you have the other parts of the draft that are starting to get figured out here by MU. That Twisted Fate actually is weirdly still a flex pick, at least if you've been watching MSI.
Yeah.
Something that could go for Niles, could go for Spyrex, but I'm expecting it for Spyrex. And the other side, Cerulean on Thresh. This was the champion that I was talking about that they really performed insanely well on when it came to the OQs. On the team Wings Revenge, just always landing these hooks in some insane situations.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Thresh in this game. I think that unless Maryville continue to opt for champions that don't have a lot of mobility or are going to be a little bit more on the squishier side, I think Thresh is not going to have that same impact and same playmaking potential as something like a Nautilus. I think that's why we've eventually swapped over. And also, when you have the Lantern, it doesn't really play in the same way as something with a Callista, where Callista really wants to get into the face of her opponents, doesn't really want the opportunity to try to kite back. So I'm interested to see what Cerulean's going to pick. We do have our bans coming through, Rumble and Jax coming on through to try to get rid of a Lated's pool. This does seem to me like it's going to be more so a Twisted Fate top lane, since they are getting rid of some of the bad matchups and some of the ones that are not going to be as fun. It seems like if we get into that lock-in, we are going to have an R5 for our brand new top laner for UCI. So really cool that they're giving him a lot of flexibility here. And something that he did talk about when I was asking him a couple questions was he is given a lot of room in draft to be able to play some different picks.
I think it's the right call, honestly, especially against Niles, someone who is very flexible in their champion pool. With the Jace and Twisted Fate now, the flexibility they still hold between those two, where it could be Niles back on the Jace that he played back when they were champions, when they were winning on Maryville back in 2019, or it could be onto that new top laner in the Twisted Fate that we've been seeing a lot more of, something that is a good bully in lane and really can force people out. So that means Elated feeling like they got to get some sort of front line to help out with Mike Young getting Cassante.
Okay, I wonder where they're going to try to slot in some of these players. Again, the Twisted Fate into Cassante matchup, you don't want to play this. No. I don't think we're going to see a lane swap. I know we saw it earlier in the Northwood series, and we've been seeing it kind of spread through all of Collegiate. We haven't got too many of the lane swap games. Exactly. But I would assume that they would want to really avoid this up in top lane. So maybe trying to find out where Twisted Fate is starting, see where they can try to slot him in. But if we look holistically at these two teams, Maryville, they have a really good setup in terms of damage. You have Varus, who, if they are going for that on-hit build, I think is going to not have as much damage, but maybe be able to match up against Callista. I think really you're focused on poke builds. You're trying to go with this Twisted Fate, who's going to allow you to have on hit immediately, just like gold card, boom, stun. You have point and click on basically all the lanes that are in mid and AD carry.
And we are going to have Niles onto that Twisted Fate. It will be Spyrex taking that Jace in game one. It's the top 16. The powerhouse Maryville want to get themselves a championship. They built this roster to win everything, while UCI, a team that upset already expectations in the round of 32, and if they could get to top 8, especially up against Maryville, everyone's going to have to talk about these players.
Well, it looks like they might try to go for some kind of level 1 strategy. 30 seconds until for UCI, I am kind of wondering what they're going to try to do here, because you're going to have a losing matchup in top lane. I think bot lane is going to be a little bit more difficult for you to try to get a hold of. And so it's kind of up to Mike Young to make some of these lanes unstable. Maybe we look towards the mid lane. If we can get that flash out from Jace very early on, there's maybe a play for them to go for there. And then we have to also talk about Twisted Fate when he has ultimate. I mean, Niles, we already talked about him trying to be a playmaker this year, really trying to step up as a team leader for the guys. So what is he going to be able to do with this Twisted Fate when he's allowed to be in another lane at an instant's notice, when he has basically a free teleport anywhere on the map post level 6?
What? I'm trying to think what Niles will do here. Honestly, I just imagine that it's going to be try to win the lane a little early, maybe even send Yuji topside just to put Elated behind, put this rookie player in a bad situation, so that then that's where they can attack. They always will feel confident now having Niles in the side lane, so the Cassante issue that you normally would have had is now gone.
And interesting here, we see that early ward that was by the Raptors there. We saw it immediately pinged out by Maryville as to seeing where Elated was. Neither jungler got spotted. Obviously, we're not doing leashes in the year of 2024 for bottom lane or for our junglers. Maybe they could think that maybe Lee Sin...
Good hook, though, with the Ignite. Going to be cleansed by Gorka. Already having to use that cleanse to get away. Good hook there from Zyko. I like that angle. Just notice that Gorka didn't have that defensive tool, didn't have the Thresh standing right in front of him. He's like, okay, I'll just get free damage.
Oh god, it's an arms race. We're just trying to get to level 2 as soon as possible. Ooh,
nice
forces the flash. Right as the minion's dying, they hit level 2. If that lands, that is an instant level that's like either the first blood or still that flash coming out later. And especially without a cleanse, probably more likely going to be that first blood going over to Scary Jerry and Zyko. So
if
really good job.
First blood for sure.
Ooh, and he's actually invading. So take a look at this. They did see Mike Young going into the Raptor pit. So they will know that Lee Sin is on the top side. You saw the pings immediately out there. Yuji is going to go in, invade, take more of these jungle camps. And if Mike Young can't find anything topside, or even right now goes for this recall, he's going to get punished without even knowing it. So Maryville are already at a slight advantage, especially when we're talking about Makai just being able to accelerate in gold.
Just amazing calls there from the Maryville squad. Absolutely love that. Notice that Mike Young is top lane for a second. They're like, yeah, okay, we're already winning bot lane. If they even try to rotate with the mid and the bot lane to try to take this, we can get the kill. And now they've got Cerulean kind of stuck under the turret in an awkward position. Yuji's there, noticing the Gorka only level 1. Whoa! That's where they go for. Of course, they go for the level 1 on the ADC. No flash to be seen. First blood for Scary Jerry, while Mike Young, Cerulean barely survive under the turret.
Beautiful setup for this bot lane dive. We already seen it getting set up there. Yuji taking those bot side camps. They got the flashes and the cleanse early on. So Gorka had recalled. He tries to walk back in the lane. And now we have this massive advantage for the bottom lane. Great stuff from Maryville to set up the bottom lane that is expected to help them carry.
I mean, look at just the difference now between Scary Jerry and Gorka. Only level 1, 6 CS. We go mid lane. Cinnamon Bread hunted back. The flash is away.
Yuji can flash.
Escaping. Yuji can flash. Didn't flash beforehand. Looking for the chase down. No having to worry about getting shoved away. Instead, you're shoving him back for the kill.
And that's a huge win. Again, Maryville now winning on multiple lanes. And it's just from Yuji immediately being able to punish. And guess what now? Mike Young is sitting here like, well, I have a Wolves camp to do. I can't really do anything top lane. We didn't get anything done there. Maryville, while we see Yuji, he's going to take all of his top side camps. He can go for a recall, and he's just going to be accelerated. I mean, we don't really need to talk too much about Maokai being the one who's there, but getting an advantage for bottom lane and this Jace is going to feel so good, especially with Dragon spawning in 30. We can see them start to contest for an early Drake.
And good luck even trying to go for your own counter invade if you're Mike Young. Look at the vision in that River and bot side. All blue except for at the tri-bush. That's the only place, and that was cleared by Cerulean just a moment ago. They had vision, so they know. Hook actually could not interrupt the Spider-Man away. And with Mike Young there, the only play they could have really made, maybe that or the Dragon, we can already see that Yuji, he's on his way to contest.
Ooh, and I like this coming out from Mike Young. It looks like gonna try and sneak in. Good use of the Sonic Wave to get past the little rift, or the river scuttle. So not going to be spotted out there, and while this entire time, Yuji is just doing his camps. Should be a small win for UCI.
Going to be another cleanse of that Ignite. Getting the piercing arrow and the hail of arrows to connect onto Gorka, so he's already low.
Oh, he backed off.
Yeah, he had, well, because Ghost was popped by Scary Jerry. You got to back off of that one. You know that you have no flash. He has the flash. They even have Zyko with the Hex Flash. They can get right on top of you. Yuji now in the bot lane again, possibly threatening a dive, but looks like they are going to fall back, and Mike Young, unfortunately, not able to get the Dragon from before.
Yeah, that's what I meant when he was backing off. Not this bot lane. If I'm playing Kalista, I am asking for my jungler to head down bottom lane, or I'm gonna make voice comms really annoying for everybody in the call. So, yeah, it's only expected. Okay.
Lantern, hook connects onto Zyko. Sonic Wave with the flay, and they've got the damage onto Zyko. So getting a kill, getting on the board for UCI.
Okay. And immediately getting that kill. It is nice. I think UCI are going to have to get this wave in under the turret sooner rather than later. There's another wave coming very soon, and obviously we still have Dragon up. We still have these grubs up. Immediately it was pinged as soon as Yuji left base that he was going to try and go for this objective. They can use the mid priority here, and especially with Zyko being on Fog, recalling from base, they can have an idea that maybe Nautilus shows up for this fight. Mike Young just going to have to opt for more of his camps, and now we see Niles has hit level 6, so Gonna have to see what he can actually do with this. I don't know if there's gonna be too much movement. I think at most early game, we're probably gonna see him use this to invade.
Bye, Cinnamon Bread.
GG.
You're gonna be toast on this one, even with the lantern. No,
Oh!
wait a minute! Cerulean with a beautiful lantern to save the day.
Great roam right there. Saves his mid laner. Don't know. It only saves them the kill, obviously.
Hey,
I think a lot of this wave is still going to, you know, this wave is still going to go under this turret. Mike Young should be the one to try to pick this up unless he's really opting to try to stay hidden and protect his jungle path. But for the time being, it does lead to Maryville taking control. Once they've pushed out mid, they can take control of this bottom side river and just set up. They don't even have to start the dragon quite yet. This wave is not in a great position either for UCI, so still looking for a recall there.
Yeah, they gotta wait. Get these recalls, try to buy something. Because you look at the long swords only for Gorka. Down 20 CS at 7.5 minutes. This is just brutal in this bot lane. Not able to do really much, and Mike Young can't really save it either. He can't start getting this loosened up and make it a little bit easier for Gorka. And this is the player we're kind of hyping up, is the player that if they're going to win, it's going to be through bot lane, especially with how the meta is right now. And that bot lane is starving. They haven't eaten in days.
Well, it's the true Kalista one, because if you've seen Kalista's model, she's basically a revenant, right? She's a ghost. Yeah. She's basically closer to a skeleton and a ghost. So she is
a skeleton,
flesh
and
bones, flesh and bones. Very.
What are the ghosts made of then?
A ghost is made of ghost things. I'm not a ghost, so I wouldn't be able to speak on this. I'm not a subject
You know what?
matter
That's
expert.
fair. People say I am, but that's just for other reasons.
Okay. But
it's okay. It's okay. We're going towards the dragon here. Maryville on it. This dragon wasn't taken earlier by Mike Young, and I don't think they can contest. There's too much vision, too much control. There is Cinnamon Bread. Oh, no Weaver's Wall either, so they definitely cannot contest this.
I mean, there's just so much bot. Also, we were talking a little bit about the waves there. Scary Jerry and Zyko, they had held the wave back. It was coming back into their turret. It was stuck under, and we saw immediately Cerulean on this Thresh back, recall, and so Gorka couldn't step up. They then timed this to go for the dragon. Really good stuff coming out from the entirety of Maryville, and specifically their bottom lane to show a little bit of restraint there. Cinnamon Bread roaming towards the top lane. Don't know what you're going to be able to get done here. If Niles does ever feel the pressure of potentially someone coming up top lane, he can press ult. Also, he has Ghost. Ghost needs to be nerfed. I've been talking about this on every single stream that I'm on. This entire summoner spell has too low of a cooldown.
Wait, I thought you said you couldn't talk on Ghosts. So why are you talking on Ghosts now?
I'm talking about summoner spell Ghost, not
you never specified that, but right now we got Spyrex on top of Cinnamon Bread. He'll get out of there. Barely with his life. I had to call you out. I'm sorry, Dimitri.
That's okay. And you know what? I respect you for keeping me honest.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do here on this broadcast. Keep each other honest. And that's why I didn't say anything about your UCI prediction, because I think you knew in your heart of hearts where that was going.
Yeah, oh yeah, I 100% do. We look in the bot lane. We might know where this is going. Scary Jerry doesn't have much mana, but Elena doesn't have much health, and he is tagged by the roots. I don't know how that hit. The Ghost Roots got it, and the Gold Card picks up the kill while bot lane, the dive did work. Scary Jerry has fallen, but no wave. Zyko will be pinned under the turret. Might be able to hold on to this plate or get the recall off, dependent on what UCI decide to do.
If people from MSI were watching last night and maybe they just woke up from being up at 5 a.m. PST, then they're like, oh, this must have been a lane swap. Obviously, Nautilus is here by himself. You know, if they're like squinting at the rest of the screen. Now, Jace is going to be here just to pick up this wave. It was a good attempt there by UCI to find that kill. They immediately shut that down. They get some gold back into the pockets of their bottom lane. And while I do think that the gold that we're going to see from Twisted Fate is going to be really nice, we have to see what he's going to be able to actually do with this, just because he was already in a winning lane.
Gorka's back was canceled by that shock blast, and Spyre's like, oh, hey,
nice.
Juicy.
Okay, well, that's really problematic for UCI. They needed that recall to come on through, because not only now are they going to continue to miss out on this wave, but now timing-wise, you have already Varus, who is already on the map. He actually collected this mid-wave. They're going to swap here. So this is more gold, more experience that's missing on the side from UCI. Whereas Maryville, they're just winning. It feels like on most of these plays, they go top lane, they find the kill. They're able to go bottom lane. Maryville have already collected the first 3 grubs. And now, I mean, Niles is going to slam this wave under the turret, and he's going to walk on down. Spyrax is going to move and help him they're going to get 6 grubs. And as long as they're attacking turrets, they're going to melt through these things, especially with the buff that they just received.
And look at that Kraken Slayer for Niles, too.
Yeah.
He is just going to take these turrets, doing so much damage to Elated. Poor rookie player going up against Captain America himself in that top lane, and he is really showing why this player has always been touted as one of the best in collegiate for top lane. And even if, you know, there was a little bit of time when he went up into the LCS that have a hard time there, he goes back to collegiate, his home, where he feels most comfortable, and he is starting to smash yet again.
I think he talked about a lot of the confidence. I'll have to hold this.
Yeah, Mike Young is going to die right here. Tries to get away. The lantern not clicked, but they got the piercing arrow to certainly hit. Well, the flash was interrupted.
Ooh,
it is
nice
a kill with that flay. But now with the gates opening up, looking for the Destiny. Who's it going to be onto? Cerulean is close enough for Spyrex as they are to get the TP in. Gorika's really the target they want to kill first. Killing spree for Spyrex with Cerulean back under the turret. They could threaten a dive. Cinnamon Bread running away from Spyrex. But it does seem that Maryville have already won out. Yeah. They got the top lane turret. They got a kill onto Gorika for it as well.
That was a really nice play coming out from Cerulean, but just wasn't enough when we look at this play. Now we're going to see they're going to try and re-engage Cinnamon Bread.
Scary Jerry doesn't have that ghost just yet. Dodging away from the knockback, but it's going to be a death sentence with that play and the ignite burning on a Scary Jerry for Cinnamon Bread to get his first kill of the game.
All right, and now we have to look at where the other lanes are right now. We already saw that in the mid lane, Jace had already walked on through to the mid lane, crashed this wave. No one's going to unfortunately collect this plate, 07 for the 125 gold that was lost there. But look at the items, look at the inventory that are going on here. Niles, when he went top lane, he used the ultimate to try to chase Elated out, did pop the flash. So both of them not having flash, more important for Niles here. But already really close to getting an RFC, which is going to be near impossible for Gorika and Cinnamon Bread to kind of deal with. Opportunity done for Spyrex. And we look, I mean, Scary Jerry, he's already got that Blade of the Ruin King. He's actually going for the on-hit variation, so kind of opting for longer team fights.
Ghost has been popped. That's going to be the gold card. Niles chasing down, pushed back by Elated. All out use. He's on top of you now, but you got another stun. Dashing away, tries to go for it, but a gold card perfect from Niles to get the solo bolo.
Wow, level 11 now procced at the same time. He's going to be able to push out this wave and immediately move on down. I think he's not going to be too useful for this next team fight with Destiny being down, so should just continue to push this out. UCI, they need to win this.
Cinnamon Bread doesn't get tagged by the dredge line, gets away, but that piercing arrow does a lot of damage with the corrupting chains. Accidentally onto Cinnamon Bread. Cerulean pulled out by Fate's call. Then the call is over and the Fate is dragging, goes to Maryville.
Wow, he picked up. That was really unfortunate. I feel bad for Cinnamon Bread at that moment. Cerulean threw out the lantern, and in that moment when we saw Cinnamon Bread go for it, actually pulled him into the Varus ultimate. So
round 2?
Really big one. Okay, gets the teleport.
Yeah, Elated doesn't have all out this time around, and you can get kited a lot easier. You don't have as many dashes, so Niles is out of there. TP has been burned.
Oh no, it's just going from bad to worse. They invested the TP to try to find something on the Niles, and it just turns into more of a win for Maryville. Maryville University picking up that bottom lane tier 1.
Lantern.
They can make a play.
They got the hook on to Scary Jerry, pulling him back with that kick, but he just throws it right back at him. Scary Jerry, barely will he die there, but they already got the 2 kills, make it a 3rd. That's they got the double kill for UG. Zyko taking a little bit of damage though from Cinnamon Bread, but it looks like they're going to get out of there, interrupting the attempted play of UCI.
It just feels so bad. Every victory for UCI is a Pyrrhic one. They lose so much every single one of these plays. Whether it be, hey, we got to play because someone overextended, while at the same time, Maryville's pushing on a side lane at that moment. And in this instance, they were able to trade kills in this fight. And then we just see, like, the fact that Gorika still goes down. We're like, okay, this is not a good situation. We're losing out on damage. The only kind of good things that I can talk about right now are going to be somewhat of Cinnamon Bread right now. He is the one player that I think does have some leeway by playing the Talia in this instance, just being able to make plays. But him and Cerulean have to go overtime because this is also a lethality Callista. So it's all about that burst. Can they find that first pick?
Oh, and the first pick's actually going to be onto Cerulean instead. With the shock, Aftershock not really helping out because they already got the kill.
Well, Magical, it's not looking great. I'm going to be honest.
It's not. My prediction's already getting ruined.
Yeah, it's okay. They have other games. This is a best of 5, one of the best things that came out of the new format for CLOL. As Niles.
All out. Might actually be able to win this too. As Niles, this time around, the 1v1 not there for Elated at Niles. Interrupted by Gorika, getting another kill. Honestly, you're just happy with that right now if you're UCI. Like you said, yay, getting some gold, some shutdowns is going to help out.
But the entire time that's happening, again, it's a situation where Maryville grabs something on the other end. So Niles, he gets 2 members, but then the Rift Herald is taken by Maryville, so they can start to break down some of these turrets. They've already cut Mike Young from that early game out in terms of some of his jungle cams, since they won the bot lane and the top lane matchups. It's so hard to walk in and try to contest some of these camps as this Lee Sin. So once this mid-tier one falls, you have to imagine that we're looking at a situation where Maryville can continue to kind of push their lead, push the vision line, and then UCR are playing out of Fog of War with, Fog of War turned off, God Vision on, and it's just so difficult to make plays, especially when you know where Thresh is and you know where he's going to throw the hook.
Just the amount of vision is absolutely nuts from Maryville. The macro calls from these players, this has always been kind of a team that has really put a lot of priority into their macro calls and setting up the map, but the micro added on top of that is just insufferable to deal with. Like right there, they just step over a ward, Fate's Call away, that's Weaver's wall to escape, but wait a minute, Malachi! You actually didn't want to follow that up, but they got Niles on the other side, pushed into the wall by Elated. They're split off, 4 looking for Niles, but now the reinforcements have arrived. They're trying to escape, but it was another twisted advance, getting all the way over there with the gold card connecting, and they've got the smash from a Rampage out of Spyrex. Everyone else, shock blasts abound. They got the hook on Gorka. Hook might be returned, but Psycho's a monster. Low health bars. You know they want to clean up under the turrets. 4 gone. Only Gorka will survive. Shock blast barely going wide.
I'm not going to say this was the cleanest fight, but it was definitely one of the most fun that I think the Maryville boys, they're getting down in the mud. I think they're having a little bit of fun with this one and with where they're at in terms of their gold. They can not necessarily be in the right place. We saw that Niles was off in Narnia, not really with the rest of his team, but they were so far ahead that it just doesn't matter. Here's another one that's going to crash. So they grab 2 turrets. They half health this inhibitor turret. And we've got 45 seconds before this Drake spawns. A lot of summoners are missing from the side of Maryville, but the 2 ones that I'm looking for both of these teams, Scary Jerry having his flash, even finishing that Terminus, and now a flash available for Cinnamon Bread. What can these 2 players do? I don't think Gorka is going to be super relevant in this game, and I mean, we're just looking at, there's so much gold. This should just be their Drake coming into this.
The 10,000 gold lead right now for Maryville, and they are not done with these fights. TP from Elated joins the fight a little bit late, but so does Scary Jerry. They got a little bit of damage with the gold card onto Elated. Pulled back in. The Maokai's the focus. That's not who you want to focus, as he got a nice Bramble smash, and they're smashing heads yet again, cracking them all together. Gorka, you survived last time, but not this fight. Elated, the rookie, take it out with you, while the other members that are alive, Mike Young and Cinnamon Bread, pinned under the turret, looking for the side. Almost got that chalk blast onto the Cinnamon Bread, but will this time be enough? No, it looks like at least 2 will get out of it this time for UCI.
Zyko is unironically MVP for this game. His hooks this game have been so good. Set up the level 1 play when we're talking about the bottom lane, and it just feels like he is just making hit after hit after hit. So Maryville, they find another fight. They put themselves on Soul Point. And we have to see how the North Conference winners are going to put themselves in a position to be able to close out this game, because they've got 3 Drakes. You've got Baron spawning in 15 seconds.
You want to know how they put themselves in a position to win this game? You want me to tell you? It's already happened. It's when they killed Gorka. I think he was level 1.
And then they did it when he was level 3.
Again. No, just the first 6. For the first one, put him at level 1 when they were at level 4 and having a 20 CS lead. From that moment, the lane's over. The plan that they had to play around Gorka is done too.
A little shocked.
Wait a minute.
Xgate,
they've set up the push. They doesn't know. Does he survive, though? He's barely taking on the Maokai. Twisted advance. Bramble smash. Walking away back into the pit. Take back in. Mike Young saying, you're not getting out of this one.
And it's 650 going over to Thresh.
Hey, you'll take it. You'll take it.
Obviously, the big win here is that it stops Maryville from being able to comfortably take this Baron. Doesn't mean they're going to have to continue to push on side lanes. We already saw Niles push in that wave bottom lane, gets his recall in. Very interesting third item here. I think the point is, Twisted Fate doesn't have to deal damage this game. Movement speed is the name of the game, and if he can get in position to gold card someone with an RFC proc, this is going to just be more important. He's just worried about any damage that might come from a Lee Sin or a Gorka with, throwing the spears.
Yeah, because it's lethality, Kalista, and that's why I was just so much earlier, saying that. To me, having played lethality, Kalista, the idea of this is you just throw your Q, you try to get a couple auto attacks. The moment you know you're going to die, you just rend. You're like, all right, someone's coming with me.
Uh-oh. Spyrex.
Speaking of that,
I don't know if you can outplay a 3v1, but I think they don't know where he is. He's afraid.
He sees it. He wants it. Bye-bye, Cinnamon Bread. Punted back in, but now they've got everyone else showing up with Zyko too. Mike Young took the beating from Scary Jerry. We didn't even get to see that. That was off screen. The chains connect. The cleanse is there. The wall is being served, but they've got the Destiny Gate opened up. Zyko didn't get the hook that time because they don't need it. The tank, Twisted Fate, eating up all the damage from Gorka.
Oh my god, we even have historic moments coming up from the Void Grubs, tanking Thresh Qs. That's incredible. Well, guess what? Now that they've killed enemy jungler, now that they've also killed enemy AD, it's going to be Maryville taking the Baron. They've got it 3 minutes before the Drake, so they can just use this Baron to push out all of their lanes, and by the time it finishes, they're going to be in a perfect position to be able to recall, get back out on the map, especially with a Hextech Soul. Maryville are looking to smash this one out with a Gen G Baron buff. We'll have to see UCI kind of getting ready for game 2. They're in the mindset, all right, what can we do?
Yeah, exactly. When you have this Gen G Baron buff for Maryville, you're thinking, all right, we are down 13,000 gold. 3 dragons as well. Soul is almost there, and it's only 22.5 minutes into the game. This is a game 2 sort of plan, and what you can fix going into that game. I think the big one is just the bot lane. Just make it so that Gorka will have a little bit of an easier time in that bot lane. Because as long as Gorka can have a safer lane, I think some of these fights we've seen that UCI have had some moments of light in themselves, where they have been able to get enough damage, they have been able to kite it back out. They just are so far behind, they can't burst anyone quick enough.
To be fair, I will also say the lottery of who hits level 2 first is always just more important when we're talking about this bot lane.
So
right?
true.
Just the kill threat. Trying to make this damage onto UG. I feel like we keep seeing this where UG gets caught when he's playing Maokai, and then it just doesn't matter because again, he's playing Maokai. So you get to just be a really abusively strong tank who has great mobility, has great team fight setup, and you really don't have to worry about it. So Maryville going to continue to use this Baron for the time being. Again, a minute before that dragon spawns, going to be in a good position. Just trying to aim for taking the inhibitor.
Cerulean takes the root, but they also look for that backline because they know Gorka, that lethality ain't going to help when you're dead. Bot lane's out of there. They've got the double kill, triple kill for Scary Jerry. Flash away from Cinnamon Bread. Didn't want to give up anymore. They don't want to give up the quadra kill, but they want it. Penta. They're calling for it. Scary Jerry saying, nah, let's back off. I was taking the turn a little bit too long. Tries to get close enough. Belated flashing away. That's the piercing arrow. It's going to be the Penta. One more auto deck, but he's underneath. Dies to the turrets and the minions. No Penta today. Elated punted back out, but the game will be secured by Maryville, toppling these Nexus turrets. Game 1 of a best of 5 here for CLOL. Elated interrupted. They're getting a little bit more damage. The game won't end just yet, at least not if it's going to get the Nexus survive.
Right.
They got the dash in. Spirex saying, all right, let's get to game 2.
Wonderful. I'm glad we got to see that from Maryville. I'm glad they had a little bit of fun with that game. They were definitely playing with their food at the end. And that has just been the case for Maryville, I think, all of their North Conference playoffs. And we were looking at them in playoffs. We were looking at them in regular season. I mean, they were putting Varus top lane. They were having UG play top lane for a little bit. They had Spirax playing these weird mid lane champions. So really cool to see them kind of revert to form, saying, okay, look, we're in the championships. Let's just throw out a solid haymaker on the game 1 there, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, you got your predictions right there, Alk. You got the 1-0.
Maryville 1-0. I confirmed that I was good at that. Good job, me. Nice.
Yeah, I had to give you a round of applause for that one.
Thank you.
Well done, Dimitri, and well done to Maryville in that game 1. But this is a best of 5 that we have for ourselves. That's just not the one game that we will have. We're going to toss it to a break. When we come back, we'll start getting ready for our second game, so don't go anywhere.
Legacy isn't just about where you're from, it's about where you're going. So where are you going?
I'm going Ole Miss.
I'm going to make a difference.
Just like my granddad.
I'm going to make the bestseller list.
And I'm going to help him get there.
I'm going to win a championship.
Again!
I'm going to break the world record.
I'm going to take the next step.
I'm going to give back to my community.
And our alma mater.
I am the first in my family to graduate.
Ole Miss. Build your legacy.